We're not going to go into too much depth in anything. I'm going to try and give something for the guys doing the acquisition, something for the guys doing the retention as well. But if you want any just general info rather than sales material, we're more than happy to kind of get the dialogue going and get a little bit of sort of information out there so you can ask questions and come up with ideas amongst yourselves. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today and what we're going to expect, and it's probably only going to run about 20-25 minutes, and if there's 5 minutes at the end, then ask questions, so that would be great. But we look at 5 top email tips, and this is going to be fairly basic level stuff. A lot of you guys will know this already, but for a lot of people, it's just going to be a few little tips and tricks that will help you get that little bit extra revenue. This is a really tricky one, and this is something that since the turn of the year, as a business, we've had to basically invest a huge amount of time and effort in research into the actual design and delivery of emails, just because what we're seeing now is as the whole global recession kicks in, the downside of it for us as affiliates and operators has been that there's been a huge increase in the number of genuine unsolicited mail, like hardcore spamming from guys in Nigeria with server farms set up and they're trying to promote everything and anything. Those guys are really causing problems for the major ISPs. And they've got to sort of duty of care to protect their customers. So there's a few things that we've looked at in terms of email design that'll just help you stand out from the guys who genuinely don't care about who they're sending and what they're sending, and just give you, again, some kind of bankable revenue stream. Creative content is something a lot of people overlook. It's not just about the message, it's how you present it, and does it have a clear call to action. So we'll be looking at a few things that you can kind of not necessarily change, but it's more just kind of little tweaks and little sort of incremental things to do here and there that make a difference between sort of 5-10% in terms of click-throughs and conversions. Something that is we're kind of passionate about at the Communicator Corporation as well is understanding as much as possible about the data before you even press the send button. Because sometimes if you're doing deals with data brokers, data partners, and so on and so forth, it'll actually cause more harm to your brand if you don't ask the questions about where it came from. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a double opt-in database, but you do need to at least ask the questions to know where the email addresses came from, what people signed up for, what kind of messages they're going to be expecting once you do click that send button. Because if you don't know what people are going to be interested in, you can't possibly hope to get a steady marketing message out to them. And then the last thing we're going to do over the last 3-4 minutes of the presentation is just how you bring all these things together just to turn it into not just a marketing campaign, but a marketing program. Whereas, like I say, you want a long-term, steady stream of revenue where there's going to be fluctuations in your SEO, there's always going to be changes that Google implement, there's always going to be someone bidding on keywords and so on and so forth. But if you have a steady stream of revenue and a bankable database there to fall back on, then it makes your life a little bit easier and kind of moves towards trickling it towards the business. So, little thing here, don't have your email wider than 600 pixels, because anything on the right-hand side isn't going to be trackable. It's like no one's going to see it unless they scroll. And there's only sort of 15% of users with email clients that have this kind of scroll bar on the bottom to press right will actually do it. So you're missing out on a huge percentage of people just by having your claim your £5 here a little bit too far over to the right-hand side. Make your email readable with the images turned off. This is such a huge issue in that when you do the testing for your emails and you send it out, what you see on your desktop doesn't always reflect what your clients are going to see. And this is particularly for retention marketing strengths and for the welcome messages, is that when someone first signs up to a message from your site, whether you're doing an acquisition campaign or whether it's someone who's just signed up for their free account with an online casino, the default setting for a lot of email clients at the moment is to have the images and links turned off until that person says, I recognize this guy and I'm happy to receive messages from him. Now, if you don't have a clear indication of what your email looks like with those images turned off, you're basically just sending blank messages to people. If there's no alternative text, if there's no clear call to action that says, look, this is what this image actually is, just have some describing text that says, this is where you collect your £5 bonus offer, welcome to the casino, and so on and so forth. Unless you have that information there, people aren't going to download those images, they're going to junk your message, and they're never ever going to spend any money with it. Avoid flash and ActiveX controls within emails. It looks really great. You can do some fantastic things with Flash, but they're not supported by the vast majority of email clients. So again, it might look great creatively when you're looking at it, when you're vetting and coming up with ideas internally, but if people can't see it when it actually arrives in their inbox, then you're wasting weeks and weeks worth of valuable effort. This is a really interesting point as well, in that particularly in the gaming space, words like casino, poker, we need to use them. That's what we're promoting. That's what we're all about. But it's how you use them. And coding the words like that, like roulette, like bingo, like deposit, as images, means that you'll actually get better delivery. You'll get better open rates, you'll get better click-through rates, and you'll get better conversions. Now the downside to that is if you just have one big image in your email, then again, if you turn the images off, they're not going to see anything. And similarly, the Hotmails, the AOLs, and so on of this world, if they get a message that is just sorry, push, oh my god.
I thought I turned that off.
Please. Let's roll on. But again, it's not just about having a huge percentage of HTML, because you're going to get blocked and filtered out of that as well. So there are tools that are readily available in the internet, not just provided by companies like ourselves, but there are free tools out there to use, where you can test your email creative, find out what kind of balance you've got going on between your images and between your text, so that before you even press the send button, you've got a very clear indication, it's not a guarantee, but it's an indication of how well your message is likely to perform. And again, if you know your data, and if you know what those kind of indications are, you've got bankable revenue. You can work out exactly how much money you're going to make before you even press the send button. Top section of the email, it's a lot of people, it's 70% of people at the moment actually look at their emails in a preview pane. They don't look at the whole email that you've got. They look at the preview pane first and decide, do I want to invest the time and effort to actually open up that email fully? Is it going to engage me? Am I going to interact with it? Unless you've got some kind of clear call to action, unless you've got something in the top that says, this is what my business is about, this is what I'm trying to promote, click here and do something, unless that's in that top section, and no one's going to open the email, no one's going to click through, and no one's going to give you that all-important conversion. So, in terms of, we've designed a message, we're happy with how it looks, we've done a little bit of testing, we want to send it out. There are certain little sort of strategies and little tips that you should have in the back of your mind when you're actually looking to build a brand, whether it's an affiliate trying to build a relationship with someone for the very first time, or whether it's a retention marketing message from an operator where you're trying to strengthen a relationship you've already got and let people know you care about them. Put a little bit of thought into the from name and the from email address that you're actually using to send out. Now the from name is just in their inbox, that's what they're seeing first, so Alex Timlin. But if I sign up to an online casino, there is a trend that we're seeing with a lot of newer operators where they're coming out where the message initially comes from Will Jansen. You know, unless you know who that person is specifically, you're not going to open the message. So if you put the person's name, an account manager's name, in that from name, but they've only recently signed up to your service, the person who's got the message in their inbox doesn't know who this is. They don't remember why they've signed up. They don't remember why they're getting this message. And as a result, you're going to lose valuable conversions from people who are basically hot off the press. They've just signed up to your service. They want to interact, but they don't know who you are because you're not telling them. And that follows suit to the email address you use as well. It's kind of a risky run when you move to a lot of sort of email service providers or a lot of professional technological tools, is that, yeah, you can have a great from name, yeah, you can have great creative, yeah, you can track it, but it actually comes from a different company. The email address that you're sending from comes from a third party. Now, if that from name and that from email address doesn't match up, it looks like it's coming from a third party. Hotmail doesn't like it, AOL doesn't like it, but more importantly, your customers don't like it as well. abcxyz@emailserviceprovider.com isn't something that they recognize. It's not something that they're going to willingly engage with. And similarly, if you look at things like adding your, an email to your safe senders list so that your images and links come on by default, if that email address isn't recognizable and doesn't tie in with either the brand or the website that they first signed up on, then they're not going to do it. And as a result, your images and links aren't going to come on by default, and you're always going to have to do this testing on plain text messages and things that aren't as interactive and aren't as attractive. So once you've done that, once you've got a name that they recognize in their inbox, you've only got a subject line to go on to make someone open a message. They've got to either recognize the brand, or they've got to recognize in the subject line something that's going to get them excited and going to give them a reason to invest those all-important seconds in looking at the email and deciding